PicoCTF 2024 series. Our overflow is just a stack concern, download the binary here, download the source here, and if we try and launch the instance, it'll give us what we need to run this in the terminal here. So I've already downloaded the binary and the source. The binary is just a bunch of symbols, and we don't really need it in this case. But the source I've opened, and it's just a C file here. But before looking too much into the source, we can just put this into our terminal and let's try and mess around and see what we can do. So it gives us these 5 options here. So the one that seems most interesting here is print flag. So if we do that, well, it says looks like everything is still secure, so we don't really get the flag. That's expected. So if we try option 3, we can't really do anything here. If we try option 2, gives us data, so we can try and enter some data. And then option 1 is just the same thing. So it seems like the only option we can really do is option 2, which is adding some data for the buffer. And so for a buffer, the thing with a buffer is we want to overflow the buffer to basically make the code kind of malfunction so we can try and get something out of it to kind of break the code. So in this case, we're just going to try and enter a big long string of characters to try and add too much data for kind of the code to handle, and let's just see what happens. So we just enter in a big long string like this. Okay, and then now let's try and print the flag. And there we go. We've gotten the flag because here we overflowed whatever buffer was in the code. And now if we put this flag into our PicoCTF, we have correctly solved the challenge. So to actually explain this, the main thing we have to look at is in case 2, where we're trying to check the buffer, it calls this function here write buffer. If we go up and find that write buffer function, it's basically taking in something called input data. Okay, so it's taking in this variable input data. And so that's probably the input that we've put in. So it's taking that input and it's doing something with that input. And so you can see it's defined here at the top. And something interesting to note as well is that if we go over to this initialization over here, we can see that our input data is set in this malloc is basically saying, what the size should be. But the input data is basically setting it as input data size. And input data size over here is 5. So the size of the input should be 5. So if we go over 5, it should overflow it. But it also has something over here called safe variable, which is over here. And that is set to the size of also 5. So it should be over 10. But I've actually tried this, and it doesn't necessarily work for anything over 10. And the reason is because if you go over to this check win, the main comparison that's doing is comparing this safe var. And so we want to overflow not only the input data, but also safe var. And then we want to put in enough characters for the comparison over here, essentially just to not work. And then so if that comparison doesn't work, if we overflow that, then it should change it so that it's not 0 anymore. And then here in this case, it would output the flag. And so that's essentially how this problem here, heap 0, works. Thanks for watching.